YouTube and Big Finish fans. Welcome to another Big Finish review. In this Big Finish review I'm reviewing the Philip Hinchcliffe Presents box set, and wow, what a box set. So I'll be going through each story individually, but further ado, let's look at the box art, then we'll actually look at the stories in closer detail. So let's go and do that. So for the box artwork we have the 50th anniversary Doctor Who logo. Then we have probably the Growlstead sort of mansion where the first story is set, obviously the Ghost of Growlstead. We then have a promo image of Leela and Tom from The Invisible Enemy, but with K9 photoshopped out. Then we have Philip Hinchcliffe Presents Ghost of Growlstead, The Devil's Armada, starring Tom Baker and Louise Jameson. Of course we have the moon there. It's quite a nice, sort of quite an eerie background and gothic, what sort of does reflect the Philip Hinchcliffe era. Then if you move aside, 50th anniversary, then we have the cover there again. Philip Hinchcliffe Presents #1, so that makes me suspect that there hopefully will be another Philip Hinchcliffe box set. On the side we have a blurb about the stories within the box itself, so do feel free to pause. And then we have the stories themselves there, all numbered. So that's basically the box artwork. So now let's go on to the actual stories themselves, because they have their own individual artwork, which is pretty jazzy. So for the cover of disc 1 for the Ghost of Growlstead, we have the 4th Doctor in sort of a picture frame. Then we have a Freak Show member and a Freak Show creature, a ticket to the Freak Show and some Victorian currency. 50th anniversary logo, Tom Baker, Louise Jameson, The Ghost of Growlstead, disc 1, Philip Hinchcliffe, adapted by Mark Platt. Then we have other cast members, Audio Adventures of Doctor Who. I'm not going to show you the spine because I've already showed you them. Then we have what the story is about, so do feel free to pause. And the back is exactly the same for each one, so yeah, I'm not going to go through all the backs. So there we go, well, for blurbs anyway. And for disc 2 we have the 4th Doctor Leela, and we have a broken doll. Then we have some sort of maps probably. Then we have a compass, some flowers, then the 4th Doctor there, and the moon, and we have the ghost, the sort of Growlstead house there in the background. What I like about the Ghost of Growlstead covers is that they have this sort of picture sort of quality, like it was taken on an old camera, which really does sort of give it this sort of gothic sort of thing, well, gothic feel to it, or gothic look. So yeah, that's disc. So on disc 3 we have the Doctor Who logo there, 4th Doctor. Then we have Mordriga. Then we have the Growlstead Manor with this sort of murky background. Then we have Leela and the Link, if I'm right. So yeah, there's the cover of Ghost of Growlstead. Now I'm going to look at the booklet and the discs, and then my thoughts on this story. For the booklet, here we have disc 1. If we open it up, we have writer's notes by Philip Hinchcliffe, and we have the 2 writers there, Mark Platt and Philip Hinchcliffe. And of course we have the reversible cover. For disc 2, we have writer's notes again, but this time by Mark Platt about adapting it, and then we have a picture of Louise Jameson, Tom Baker and Philip Hinchcliffe, and of course reversible cover. Finally, for the booklet for disc 3 we have producer's notes there, and some of the cast members there, and of course reversible covers. So now let's quickly go through the discs and then my thoughts on the Ghost of Growlstead. Disc 1, disc 2 and disc 3. So my thoughts on the Ghost of Growlstead. Ghost of Growlstead definitely fits in nicely with the Philip Hinchcliffe era, with body snatchers, murky Victorian streets and family curses. Part 1 really does set the tone of the story with eerie music and of course the wonderful sound design, what Big Finish do brilliantly. Part 1 is a great introduction to the supporting characters. The story itself is a mixture of the Woman in Black crossed with the talons of Weng Chiang, with creepy rhymes and family curses. The family curse will later be expanded in the story. The villain is where the talons of Weng Chiang bit comes into it, where we see her ripping people alive to use their energy to sustain her. So I'll go into my sort of negatives. Part 5 I feel loses the gothic element with the story going to Africa. I know it's sort of necessary, but I just feel that it just loses the sort of gothic element which has been built up brilliantly throughout the story, and then it just loses it in part 5. And my other negative for this story has to be the sort of fight sequence between Mordriga and I can't remember the person she fight, but they just lose it for me. So my overall thought is this story really does feel like a Robert Holmes script with that Robert Holmes sort of tone to it as well. Tom Baker is outstanding with some brilliant bits of dark humour, but Louise Jameson gets a lot to work with within this story, with Leela meeting a sort of African sort of hunter, which is very much like herself, and there is a great chemistry between those characters, which is developed throughout the story. Now, my favourite supporting character is Clementine, the professor's daughter. Now, her character is not meant to be creepy, but there is something very mysterious and eerie about her with these weird nursery rhymes, and she is sort of possessed by the family curse in the way. Well, she's not possessed, but she's obsessed is a better word actually instead. With her sort of being in the family tomb area, and she's very sort of mysterious, and I like that about her. And she's just a great character. If you listen to the story and listen to the trailer, you'll sort of get this sort of eerie feeling about her. So overall, this story has superb cliffhangers and a great villain, and definitely does stick with the Philip Hinchcliffe era. So my overall rating for The Ghost of Groustead is 8 jelly babies out of 10. So now let's go on to the next story, The Devil's Armada. So now on to the second story, The Devil's Armada. So if we look at the cover, we have the 50th anniversary logo there. The Devil's Armada, Disc 1, Philip Hinchcliffe, adapted by Mark Platt. Tom Baker sort of logo there. Then we have Leela, the Doctor, and two people on horses. Then we have a sort of fire, which is probably to represent the beacon, and this sort of woodland background. Audio Adventures of Doctor Who. Then we have what the story's about, and then we have the cast member there, and the total running time is 1 hour. Disc 2, we have the Fourth Doctor there in the horror of Fang Rock sort of promo image there. Then we have a boat, the sea, and a bit of fire there. Forecast audio drama. Then we have the same information there, and I'll just quickly go to the back there because it's probably the same information there. So there we go, that's the artwork, and I have to say this is probably my favourite cover in the box set. It just is quite a standout cover when you put all the other covers against it. So now let's look at the booklet, then the discs, and then my thoughts on The Devil's Armada. So here is the booklet for disc 1 of The Devil's Armada. So if we open it up, we have writer's notes by Philip Hinchcliffe. Then we have a lovely picture of Tom and Louise, and of course we have the reversible cover there to have the Tom Baker logo if you like. Then for disc 2 of The Devil's Armada, we have writer's notes there, advertisement for Doctor Who magazine, and the credits, and of course the reversible cover. So now let's go on to the discs of The Devil's Armada. The first disc of The Devil's Armada, and the second disc. So if we just open this, then we have advertisement for the sort of novel adaptations, and of course we have behind the scenes documentary about the Philip Hinchcliffe Presents box set. So that's the way this audio is presented. Now let's go on to my thoughts on The Devil's Armada. Okay, so my thoughts on The Devil's Armada. The story itself is a very satanic story explaining the myths and legends of the devil throughout history. The story itself is a mixture of superstition and religion, with having this Mask of Mandragora feeling. The foe in this story really does have a presence within the story, and it reminds me of Sutekh, and it has that great sort of quality when the Doctor first encounters the foe, much like when the Fourth Doctor encountered Sutekh. Tom Baker is bonkers and yet still brilliant, with him being very unpredictable, with him, you know, laughing 1 minute and then being rather sinister and dark, which sort of reminds me of Tom Baker and the Pyramids of Mars. So this is sort of have similarities to the Pyramids of Mars and the Mask of Mandragora. Louise Jameson is equally as good, getting some great moments between the Fourth Doctor and the Fourth Doctor really, with this sort of whole teacher and student relation which was built up in series 3, and it's great to see the continuation of that in this story. So overall, this is my favourite Fourth Doctor story, well, adventure from Big Finish to date, playing on the myth and our history of the devil. Part 3 and 4 are very action-packed with excellent supporting cliffhangers and a great confrontation with the Doctor and foe, great suspense, and really captures the Philip Hinchcliffe era in one story, and really does sum up the Philip Hinchcliffe era nicely in this story. So my overall rating for The Devil's Armada is 9 jelly babies out of 10. It is superb. I would rate it a 10, but I don't think there is any story what is perfection, because this story is very close to it. I mean, Dark Eyes, the first book, is perfection, but this is the best Fourth Doctor adventure I have ever listened to, and it's great. So now let's go into my concluding thoughts on this box set. So my overall thoughts on the Philip Hinchcliffe Presents box set. Overall, this box set really does highlight the key features of the Philip Hinchcliffe era, what we all love, you know, from the gothic horror to the Hammer House of Horror stuff. It is just superb. With both of these stories have the same sort of ending, with Tom Baker's Doctor offering to buy Leela a muffin or something like that, and that's a sort of a nice sort of reference, especially in the Ghost of Grelstead, you know, to the Talons of Weng Chiang and the Justice of Jalaxar, because it has the same sort of ending with the Doctor offering to buy Leela, you know, muffins and that sort of stuff. Now I have to say, Philip Hinchcliffe and Mark Platt have had a brilliant collaboration with such fantastic ideas and overall fantastic storytelling. This is a brilliant expansion to the Fourth Doctor adventures, with it expanding the relationship between, you know, the Doctor being this teacher and Leela being the student, which is really nice to see that it's being expanded even in the you know, not in the series but in a separate way. Overall, the performances are just fantastic. Tom and Louise are just, they finally found their characters and their strengths on audio, so I think this is where they start to come into their own. I mean, series 3 they found the characters, but this is where they started to explore more with their characters, which is great. The supporting cast are fantastic. Would I recommend this box set? Definitely. It is definitely a treat, especially if you're a fan of the Philip Hinchcliffe era. It is definitely worth looking into, but my only problem with this is the price. It is a rather pricey box set. I mean, when it was first released it is £55, but I got it off Amazon for 35 quid, which is a very good price, and I think it's still that price now. So if you want to get the box set, then definitely you know, get it off Amazon because it's a bit cheaper. So what would I rate this box set? I'm gonna rate this box set a 8 scarves out of 10. A fantastic box set, really does highlight the Philip Hinchcliffe era, and it's just overall a treat to listen to. So thank you very much for watching this review, and I'll see you in my next review. So thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.